Welcome to Di's Home and Garden. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. And if you're new, what we do here, we cook, we garden, and we do some crafts. So today, as you can see, I'm in the kitchen, so we're going to be cooking. Now, what I'm making today is, we call it English trifle. Now, with trifle, I do know that there are many variations. So even though we call this an English trifle, we only call that because my mum taught me how to make this and she's from England. Even in England, they would have variations on this recipe. So you may have come across it, you may have your own family favourite recipe, but this is the way we make it and this is the way we like it. So you might like to give this one a try. Okay, so first up, we're going to have a look at the ingredients that we're going to be using. So let's start doing that now. So first up, we need jelly. Now this is the jelly that I use. It's port wine flavoured, but you can use different flavours if you prefer. I like to use this brand because it does set well. Some of the cheaper brands, they don't set very well. And you can see there that I've made up 1 litre of jelly. Now normally to make 1 litre of jelly you would use 2 packets of this, but because I want the jelly a little bit firmer and very flavourful, I use 3 packets, and the way you make that up is you just put boiling water in there until it makes up 1 litre. So I use 3 packets of Aeroplane jelly. The next thing that we're going to use, we're using these sponge finger biscuits. Now you might say I've called this an English trifle. Well, these are Italian. This is not, you can use these, but what we would normally have used would be a jam roll, like a Swiss roll, just with jam inside. But I like to keep ingredients in my pantry and be able to make this up at the drop of a hat. So I do have something coming up this weekend, something special, and that's why I'm making this. And I keep these biscuits so that if the need arises, I don't have to run out and buy special ingredients. These I can store in my pantry long term, so that's why I don't have the Swiss roll. I'm going to make a custard, an egg yolk custard. So I've got 4 eggs, and this is not lactose free, this recipe. That's just the milk that I had in the pantry. Again, as I said, I like to keep my pantry well stocked so that I can just make things at the drop of a hat without having to go out and buy special ingredients. So we're going to use some cream to put on the top. We're using a large can of sliced peaches. And the other thing that we're using is bananas. So I don't have the bananas. I will be going shopping a little later, so I'll pick up the bananas while I'm out. And I'll get some strawberries as well to decorate the top. You can decorate the top with whatever you like. So you might like to use strawberries, kiwi fruit, some blueberries, maybe some passion fruit. If you don't want to do any of that, sometimes, if, as I say, I've made it just at the drop of a hat from ingredients in the pantry and I don't have those things, I'll just use some nice coloured sprinkles and put those on top of the cream. So you can decorate it however you like. I've even seen it decorated with lollies, with those nice soft dube lollies, and that's always a hit with the kids when they know that they're getting dessert and they're getting a lolly on top. So yeah, it's your own choice how you decorate this. So let's get into making this. So we're going to start by layering the sponge finger biscuits in a nice serving dish. So you want a nice large bowl for this. We're just going to layer them. That should be enough. And then we just pour over our prepared jelly. So that is, it's made with boiling water, so it was hot, but it has cooled down a little. So I'm just going to stir that because sometimes it can settle and you can end up with a lot of the flavour and gelatin sitting right at the bottom of the container. So we just gently pour that onto our biscuits. And as you'll see, they'll start to float on the top of that, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. So we're going to pop that in the fridge, and while that's in the fridge setting, we'll make our custard. So we've got our eggs here, and we need to separate them because we're not using the whites in this recipe. So to separate them, just do that, and we put the yolks into the pan. Now in this bowl, I've got the whites, and I'll put them into the container. It's important to do this into a container each time and not put them directly in there for two reasons. If by any chance the egg was bad, you don't want to contaminate some good egg white that you've already got. The other thing is that as you're doing this, sometimes you can break the yolk, and if a recipe calls for egg whites, it can't be contaminated with any egg yolk, especially if you're going to make a meringue or something like that out of it. So if we did have an accident and we got some of the egg yolk into that white there, we could discard that without it affecting the whole container of the egg whites that we've got. So we're just going to be using 4 egg yolks to make the custard. And what I'm going to be doing with the egg whites is popping them into the freezer. I don't have any use for them coming up, like in the next few days. So if I pop them in the freezer, they'll last there for quite a few weeks. And when I come to use them, I just get them out. I usually put them in the fridge overnight to bring them back to their natural state. And then if I'm using them for meringues, I'll get them out for about an hour before I use them so that they get to room temperature. Okay. There we go, we've got 4 egg yolks in that saucepan there. Now with the egg shells, I always keep them. I reuse them on the garden. So let's put that in there. We'll just clear things away here. So it's important to always label them. So it's 4 egg whites. And I just put the date. There's something cool that was already on there. There we go. To our egg yolks, we add half a cup of castor sugar. Now, mix that around. Until it's thoroughly mixed in. And then, excuse me, and then we add half a cup of cornflour. So this is, excuse me, this is a very thick custard that we're making because we want it to set quite thick. So when it goes cold, It's not like a thin pouring custard. It will be very thick. So we need to incorporate all the corn flour into our mixture. There we go. So we mix all of that in. And then we can start to add our milk. Now this is lactose-free milk, but you can use, that's just what I had in the cupboard. You can use any sort of milk. And if you don't have milk on hand, which I generally don't have a lot of milk on hand, I keep powdered milk in the pantry. So you can even make up some powdered milk. Full cream would be best for this, but you could use skim milk or low-fat milk. There we go. So we're just mixing that into the milk into our mixture there. And we're just making sure that there are no lumps so that everything is thoroughly mixed. Okay. So that's 1 litre of milk that I've used. And we'll take that over to the stove now and we'll cook it. So this we just put on medium heat. And we just have to keep stirring this and it will slowly thicken as it gets hotter. And we need to bring this to the boil and boil it for a few minutes so that it gets rid of that flour taste. So rather than you watch me stirring a pot for the next 5 to 10 minutes, we'll come back once that's starting to get thick. So it is getting hotter and it's just starting to thicken. So we need to stir this constantly. If we do leave it, that's where you can have trouble and you can end up with either it catching on the bottom or lumps will develop. So we want to keep stirring to ensure that we don't get any lumps in this. Now when it does start to thicken, it happens very, very quickly. So you'll see that I'll start to stir very vigorously to make sure that we don't get any lumps once it reaches that point of just starting to boil. Right, here it goes. It's just going to boil in a minute and it's thickening up very quickly now. There you go, you can see that it's boiling now and you can see that it's quite thick. So we'll let that boil for a few minutes. make sure that that corn flour is cooked and you don't have like a raw flour taste to the custard. So that should be enough there. Now once you turn the heat off, you add vanilla essence. So this is imitation vanilla essence. It's not very strong at all. So it might seem like I use an awful lot in here, but if you want vanilla flavour, you really need to add a lot of that. I do have on hand usually vanilla extract, but I don't have any at the moment, so I'm using the next best thing. It's still vanilla, and it will still give it that vanilla flavour. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to leave that for, I don't know, probably about 10 minutes, just until it starts to cool. Any longer than that, it will start to form a skin on top. So what I will do, I will get some plastic wrap, and I'll make sure that the plastic wrap goes down into the saucepan and it actually touches onto the surface of the custard. That way it will ensure that we don't have a skin that forms on top. Once it's cooled enough, I will pop that. I usually just pop it in the saucepan in the fridge. Who wants more washing up? I don't need to transfer that to a bowl or anything like that. And we'll come back once we're at our next stage. So there you can see I've put the plastic wrap on and it's touching against the custard there, and it's still a little bit too warm for me to put in the fridge, but it'll be going into the fridge very shortly. So it's been a couple of hours now. The jelly has set, and over here I've got the custard, and that's cooled, and I've drained the peaches, so we're just going to assemble that part of it. So just put the peaches on top, and then just make sure that they're nice and even. Now sometimes I use a clear bowl. This bowl is frosted, so you don't see too much through the sides of it. But if I'm using a clear bowl, I'll take the time to put the peaches up like that so that it makes a really nice decorative presentation. But that's fine. You can't really see it this time. Just removing the plastic wrap from the custard, and now just, you can see how thick that custard is, and that is how it should be, nice and thick. There we go. Perhaps it could be a little bit more runny, but it'll all get eaten. Okay, so we just need to smooth that down. Now this part of it, I'll generally do the day before I need it. It's just that it's so time consuming. So to get it done and out the way is a good thing. And then I'll just use the plastic that we had for the custard, because it's going on top of the custard again. So we'll just cover it and pop it back in the fridge. Now, I'm not using this until tomorrow, so we'll just leave it at this stage, because the next stage is to put sliced banana on top of that, and you don't want your banana sitting in the fridge for 24 hours. So generally, I'll have the cream whipped, I'll have the strawberries all cut up and ready, or whatever fruit I'm going to decorate it with. I'll have all that ready to go in the fridge, and then just before I serve it, I'll slice the banana and put it on it. I'll put the whipped cream on top, then I'll decorate it with the fruit, and then I'll generally serve it straight away. So we'll come back tomorrow and you'll see the next stage in the process. Okay, so we've just got it out the fridge and we're just about to decorate it. We'll be serving it probably in about 2 to 3 hours. So I'm just going to put the bananas on next. So what you can see there is the custard. Now we did that yesterday and it's been in the fridge overnight. So I'm just slicing the bananas. You don't really have to be too particular about this because once you put the cream on, you're not going to see the bananas underneath. You'll taste them when you eat it. But, you know, if they're not all laying flat, that's fine. Just as long as there's a nice even distribution of bananas on top of there. So there you have it, bananas are done. And now we just need to top it with our whipped cream. You just want to make sure all those bananas are covered because it is going to go back into the fridge for about another 2 to 3 hours. But I like to get this out the way before the guests arrive, and that's one less job that I have to do. So I'm just going to decorate it with strawberries and blueberries. We do have a few people attending tonight, and I know that one is allergic to kiwi fruit, so you can put kiwi fruit on it, but I can't. So yeah, you need to also keep that in mind, like if you know of anyone who's got any allergies, just be mindful when you're selecting what you're going to be decorating it with. Just put a whole bunch. I've got them all here, so I may as well put them all in. There we go. And then we've got blueberries. Now what I'd ideally do on this is drizzle some passion fruit over. I do have some passion fruit, but I'm just not sure if people like passion fruit or not. So I just want to check that before I put it on, and that's something easy to do last minute. Well, at least the fruit's nice and healthy on here. I don't know about everything else. Okay, there we go. There you have it, English trifle.